So welcome everybody to Quarantine Break. I'm Kiana, founder of Eat Soccer. And in this session, we're going to be talking about scoring beyond the arc. And we are pleased to have featured guest Marla Brumfield-Lewis with us, former WNBA player, former Clemson Tiger women's basketball assistant coach, and current assistant athletic director for Alief ISD. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, how you doing? Thank you for having me.
So the first question I have for you is, you've reached the highest level in women's basketball, which, as you know, isn't an easy feat. Can you tell us about your involvement in sports growing up and some of the things you did to position yourself to receive a scholarship to play basketball?
Well, my mother was one of those parents that I was going to try everything, and I did try everything from ballet and jazz to gymnastics until the instructor said she's probably going to be too tall. My dad was 6'3" and my mom was 5'11". And I played tennis. I ran track. So that's what I did mostly growing up. And then in middle school, I started playing basketball. And then that's I wasn't very good, but one of the things that I like to do. So up until that point, I had predominantly been playing tennis and running track. To position myself for a scholarship, both of my parents are educators, so grades it was no option. That would be one of the number one things that I say that helped position me for a scholarship. Number two being having the work ethic and the dedication to just try and get better at my craft. I had several track offers, but I did not like running track anymore. I had been doing it since I was 9. And I really decided in high school that I would really like to continue playing basketball. So that was what I did. I played, I worked out, I went to camps. I made sure my grades were straight. I put myself around like-minded people. So I would say that those would be the 3 things that I would say a person would need to do. And that's how I positioned myself for a scholarship, was to make my grades, work out and put in the work and not get out there and just go through the motions, but really work at it. And in addition to that, just surround yourself around like-minded people and good people, and that's what I've tried to do throughout growing up and playing and coaching and, and everything that I do. I just try to surround myself around good people.
As the first female basketball player from the Western Athletic Conference to be drafted to the WNBA, what do you think were some things about your game, athleticism, or just intangibles that allowed you to receive this opportunity and to be a trailblazer?
Well, the first thing I would say would be God, because when I sat down to meet with teams when we went to the combine camp, the most common thing, and you never know when people are watching, right? You hear that all the time, you always want to be doing your best and being on your best because you never know when people are watching. So, and why I say God is because we were playing in the NCAA tournament. We had just made it. It was our first year making it. We played in UC Santa Barbara. They were number 1. We were like whatever, and that part of the or we were 16 seed. That's the lowest you could be, a 16 seed in that part of the bracket. And they were number 1, so they were hosting. And we go down there to UC Santa Barbara, and we play our hearts out and we play our butts off. And that's when I sat down with teams. That game came on 8 o'clock. We started playing at 8 o'clock Pacific time, which was 11 o'clock Eastern time. So it happened to be the only game on, the last game on. So if you were a basketball fan, you were going to watch, you just watched it because it was like the only basketball game on at that time. And so that was one of the things that that the coaches, several coaches said that, they really hadn't seen me play the point guard position. Although I had played in my senior year, my coach tried to transition me to the point guard position because she knew that's what I was going to need to play, even though I didn't even know I was still going to be playing. Yeah. And it just kind of opened up the opportunities. And I would say another thing that I think that coaches liked about me was I was able to pick up things quick. I was basketball savvy. I wasn't always the fastest. I wasn't necessarily the best shooter. I wasn't, I prided myself on playing defense. So I will say I was a good defensive player. But one of the things that I did pride myself on is if we're going through plays, you're going to show me once, and I'm going to know what I'm supposed to do, but I also am going to know what everybody else is supposed to do on the floor. And that was kind of rare as a shooting guard for people to just have a clue about what everybody's supposed to be doing. But it did serve me well when I had to transition to the point guard position.
What was the whole process like after you played in that NCAA tournament, from going from playing in the NCAA tournament for Rice to actually draft day? What was that whole process like for you as someone who was kind of relatively unknown?
Well, it was quick. So played in the tournament. We ended in UC Santa Barbara to North Carolina, who had Nikki Teasley at the time, which was their starting point guard, was also played in the WNBA, was one of the top drafted of her class. We had a combine in Chicago. I wasn't really sure, I was like, well, if I'm going to play, then I probably should go to this combine. I've been invited. A lot of seniors were going, and I was like, well, I'll go up there. And I ended up having a good showing. I played the point guard position and, played well, and I think that helped my stock as well. Came back from that. Now this is all between, March Madness, right? So this is all in the month of April, right? So all in the month of April, go to the combine, come back, get invited to the draft. And I was like, man, invited to the draft. I don't want to be one of these people up here that's disappointed. You see them watching number 1, number 55, number 6. But I said, trip to New York. I had done pulled some strings, so my mom was able to come with me, and we went to the draft. And I can't even remember. I know it was second round, 22nd. I think it was 22nd pick. Which I was elated. That was a second round draft. That was a second round pick, and it wasn't but about 12 in each. There was 12 in each round, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is interesting. I actually made it to the second round. I wouldn't have thought that would have happened, but it did. And then after that, the next week I was heading to Minnesota. I finished all my classwork. Contacted my professors and finished all my classwork before finals were even coming around. So it was a real quick process, about a month.
How much would you say, like, your mental fortitude or your mental preparation played into you being able to perform how you need to perform in the combine, and just being able to maneuver all of the twists and turns of your career in the WNBA?
Well, you have to be professional. At some point, if you're going on your hobby, doesn't matter what the hobby is, right? Basketball was a hobby for me. I never intended to be playing after college. It was an avenue for me to get a degree and, enter the workforce, become a regular person. Well, it doesn't matter what your hobby is or what it is that you choose to do. You're going to have to communicate with people, and you're going to have to be somewhat savvy, and at some point most of the time maintain a professional, demeanor. I'm not saying that you have to be uptight or about it, but you have to approach things with a different mindset, and that mindset is a professional one. So just at the combine, when I'm sitting down meeting with coaches, to me it's a professional meeting. I'm not saying I wore a dress and a tie or whatever, all of that, but you just have to present yourself, because you're a product, and it doesn't matter what you do, you're a product, even still to this day. So, and that still is the same, even as an athletic director. I have to talk to my young coaches about, you want to be seen as a professional, then you need to dress the part. So, it's great that you have earbuds in, but that's inappropriate when you're coaching. It doesn't matter if they're on or off, you always want to be seen as a professional. I think that transcends sports. It follows you whatever profession you choose to do, or even if you choose to own your own business.
Talk to us about a typical week, what it was like for you in the WNBA, and what is your best advice for student athletes who have sights on playing basketball professionally?
Well, in the WNBA, we play 3 games a week. So I'll start with game day because it seems like you have more game days than pretty much anything else. So game day usually consisted of getting up, having breakfast. You have your meeting, film, you have your shoot around. You come back, you may have another meeting with like guards, a guard meeting or a post player meeting about just going over the game plan again. Then you have a little break. That's your opportunity to get your rest or to go through whatever your pregame routine is. And typically about 3 hours before the game, you are getting on a bus and headed to the facility that you're going to be playing at. And then you're starting your pregame routine, whatever that may be, whether it's, music and shooting around or whatever that may be, then that's what you're doing. Then after the game, you're either traveling. So we either traveled that night if we played early enough to catch a flight, or if it was close enough to bus, right? And then get there to the new hotel, get a good night's rest. If we had to travel the next day, we head back, get some dinner, head back to the hotel. The next day would be a travel and practice day. So if you were traveling and practicing, then you probably only had about a 2.5-hour practice. You had your film. You still did some sort of conditioning and weightlifting, because despite what people think, even when you're traveling, you got to get the cobwebs out, right?
Yeah.
You have to get all that stuff out. So you need to get a good sweat in. You need to get a good workout in. So we would do that. And then depending upon if we were playing the next day or not, we would have anywhere from, 3 to 6 hour practice, which included, again, you're working out, your conditioning, your strength and weight training, flexibility, shooting, and then whatever you're doing as a team. And so that would be, that was basically what your week consisted of, rotating over just depending upon what the day was. The second part of that question, what was the second part of that question?
What is your best advice for student athletes who want to position themselves for this opportunity? Because oftentimes you might find in high school and even sometimes in college, athletes they have natural talent and they can coast off of that. And so when you reach a level where everybody is talented, what could you do once again to make yourself become one of those athletes that are selected to play professionally? And so what's your advice for student athletes who want to set their sights on playing basketball professionally?
Well, to set yourself apart, again, part of being a professional athlete, making sure you're in shape. I never went into practice. When we started practice, we started camp, I was in shape. It wasn't, sometimes some players would come and have to get in shape. Well, that person was already beat out because I was already in shape, and I was going to make sure that everybody knew that they were not in shape. So just setting yourself apart by making sure that you're in shape, making sure that you are a student of the game, right? Looking at different players' film, looking at different moves, looking at different teams, and it doesn't have to be NBA. I've gotten some great things from. I've seen a middle school coach run something and go, "Wow, that was awesome. Let me add that to my repertoire, things that I need for my kids to do." So just studying the game at all levels, honing your craft. If there's something that you can do, and there is something that you are not good at, you need to be working on it. And I'll tell this quick story. I came home one day, and I had boohoo cried to my dad. I boohoo cried. This is 7th grade, first year playing. I said, they won't pass me the ball. I rebounded, and I get it. Now, I couldn't dribble the first, right? And they will not pass me the ball. I was the tallest thing out there, still the same height today. And he was like, well, just learn how to do a right hand and a left hand layup. And that, to me, was mind-blowing. Because now I'm thinking, man, is it that simple? Like, all I have to do is go out here to this hole that's in my driveway and work on something that I can't do. And that was it. The next year, I was unstoppable. It was like, she can do a right and a left hand layup. To 8th graders, that was like, back then, that was like, oh my gosh. But I tell the story to say, there's something that you can work on. The game. Know what your weaknesses are, because the defense is trying to exploit your weaknesses. Know what your weaknesses are. And sometimes your weakness is your defense. So there's some things that you can do to work on that. versus angling, or finding out what, excuse me, I gotta get off my foot, you know, finding out how you need to play, you know, to be your best. But also be coachable. You know, if somebody tells you something, let's not take offense to that. Let's use that to better ourselves. You know, I find that some of the kids these days, and I coached high school as well, and I coached in college too. I've coached at every level, actually, middle school, high school, and college. And you would think that they would be that much different from one another, and they're not. But I would tell you that the person that's going to improve the best and stand out the best is the person that is coachable, the person that you can go to and say, hey, we need you to work on this. We need you to do this, and this is what I need you to do right now in this game, and they go and get it done. Coaches love it. They're gonna pick that player over the most athletic, most spectacular player every time.
After your career in the WNBA, you had an opportunity to serve as an assistant coach for the Clemson Tigers women's basketball program. How did you receive that opportunity?
I coached at Rice first. So after I graduated, while I was playing basketball, I coached at Rice in the off season. And then I stepped away from coaching in college when I got cut. Back then, the third assistant was not a recruiter, did not get paid well. And, you know, I worked really hard to get a degree that was going to help me, you know, do some things in life and live the type of lifestyle that I wanted to live. So I started teaching at that point. So I started teaching, and time frame, the head coach got the job at Clemson. She had been there a couple of years. We're close, very close. It was my college coach. And she asked me to come there and help her get some things in order. And so that's how I ended up there, because she wanted somebody that she knew was going to tell it to her straight and be honest about whatever the situation is. And she knew that she could count on me and trust me to do that.
What were your responsibilities as a member of that staff?
So I helped with recruiting, player development, game film, prepping game, what are they? It's been so long since this, and just everything. Practice organization, practice planning, help with film exchange. I mean, if you name it, there is to do in basketball. We did a bit of everything. So it was, but predominantly, and it doesn't matter what college you're at. If you don't have players, then you don't have a program. So the nuts and bolts of it is recruiting. So I did that probably 50 to 75% of the time, and then the other 25% of the time was basically prepping for games and making sure that our players and player development and making sure that they were working at getting better.
What's your advice for students that perhaps want to set their sights on becoming a member of a collegiate coaching staff?
Well, one, be coachable, you know, like, because people want those types of people on their staff, right? Yeah. It doesn't only apply to the game. People want those types of people on their staff where that they know that they can trust them with the task, and that task is going to get handled. I would say be honest and open to ask questions about how maybe something should be handled. But then if your suggestion is not taken, jump on the bandwagon with the suggestion that the group collectively decides upon, because that's part of being an assistant as well. You know, being able to give ideas, but then not hold a chip on your shoulder when your ideas are not accepted. You know, getting behind the idea that's best for the program and best for the team. You know. And I would say you can start coaching right now. You know, it's a craft. You can start coaching. You're in high school. Start coaching Little League. You're in college. Start coaching Little League, or start coaching. Have some fun in the off season. Coaching the club teams. You know, you can start wherever you choose to. You know, if you want to be a coach, then you need to get some things under your belt about what coaching entails. Just coaching Little League, you'll learn real quick how to communicate effectively, how to drop a game plan, a simple game plan, right? Because even in the pros, some of the things that they're doing are just so basic that you do the same things with your Pee-wee teams. So I would say that too, start coaching, but then also make sure that you are seen as a professional. I talked about that earlier. I'm not saying that you can't let your hair down, you know, as a player. Yeah, let your hair down. But at the end of the day, think of yourself as a commodity, and you want to make sure that that commodity is something that people want on their staff.
So currently you are the assistant director of athletics at Alief ISD. How would you say that your first two careers as a WNBA player and as an assistant women's basketball coach at the college level, how have those two careers prepared you for what you're doing now? And kind of tell us what your day-to-day life is like in that current position you have.
So being able to communicate effectively, this is something that's just throughout sports. Being able to be a good teammate, being able to be a teammate, being able to work collaboratively, being able to come up with game plans and execute game plans, all of those things apply to what I'm doing today. If you're playing sports, then you're learning the skills that are necessary to do what I'm doing today. So that kind of segues into what I do on a daily basis. So I work with my team, which is my athletic director, my coworker, assistant athletic director, and our secretary, small staff, and we organize and plan events. I mean, that's what we do, right? We have football games, which we could have up to 5,000 to 10,000 people in the stands. So we plan events. And then we also make sure that our coaches are in compliance with what our state policies and guidelines are, which are UIL, right? So that's kind of like coaching your coaches, right? Coaching your coaches to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do to be able to coach our kids. And then a big part of what I do is to help the coaches make sure that they're organized, make sure that they are able to show up to their events. They know what they're supposed to be doing, where they're supposed to be going, and they don't have to worry about the event, right? Because that's my job, but they also know that about greeting their coaches and doing those types of things. So I still coach today. I just coach the coaches, you know, and I still work as a team. I'm still a teammate. It's just in a different capacity. So everything that I've done up until this point, even coaching middle school, has played a role in helping me be successful as assistant athletic director, because I set up events, I organize schedules for middle school and high school. So I organize schedules, I organize events, I coach our coaches. So these are all things and skills that you're doing right now, even as a player.
So I have one last question, and then we're going to open the floor up to other participants who have questions as well, and I have one waiting in the queue. My last question for you, Marla, is what piece of career advice would you give your younger self?
I would say to just slow down and enjoy it, you know, because I'm one of these people that I get on the grind and I want something and I'm going to work for it. And it's like, you always want to be honing your craft, but at some points you have to look back and say, man, you know, I did that, you know, like I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor. You know, I enjoy it now because I'm an adult, and I mean, I was an adult then, but you know what I'm saying? I enjoy it now because I know, hey, you need to enjoy this moment. Like even during this quarantine, right? I get the opportunity, I'm enjoying my son. Does he get a time out once or twice a day? Yes, but we still have a good time together, time that we normally wouldn't have, right? And but I'm finding the joy in the little things. And I would tell myself, that's what I would tell my younger self. And then I would also say, enjoy the relationships that you built, because those relationships lead to jobs. Every job that I've had has come from somebody that I've known. Yeah. You know, the job that I'm in right now, which was on the list of what I wanted to do when I left college. When I left college, I wrote some things down that I wanted to do, and being athletic director was the number one thing on that list. And yeah, it was. And
Awesome.
I'm very goal oriented. And but the funny thing is, I got the job when my high school coach, who is also a second mother to me, decided that she was going to retire.
Wow.
I mean, how could you follow in the footsteps of somebody that her footsteps, of course, are ginormous, right? She's my high school coach and a mentor, second mother. But yeah, so that I would say that enjoy the relationships that you build, and then also enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Okay, the first question we have is, Coach Lewis, what are your thoughts on pro leagues that are around? And then what advice can you give to make these leagues accessible to players? Do you think the WNBA is ready for a D or G league? Why or why not?
Well, and I asked that question before, actually. I don't think it's ready for a D league. I really don't think it's necessary. That's what college is for girls. See, the boys, they have the opportunity to go 1 year and out, right? Girls are going to school and they're staying for 4 years. The majority of them, you might have a rare case of somebody who decides to go play overseas and wait out her time or something. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're in women's sports, unless you're the top 1%, you are eventually going to be hitting the workforce. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. And I feel like women are playing a pure game, right? We have to play from the floor. There's very few of us that are playing above the rim. And with that, I feel like the games, the skill sets are developed, you know, the skill sets are developed. And I really feel like having a D league would just water down, you know, you're just getting watered down or giving hope to people who need to just go on with their lives. I mean, the way the WNBA is set up, I think that it is, I like the way that it's set up, and I like the fact that there came to that second collective bargaining agreement this year, and that opted for that put in some things that when I was playing, like were a struggle, you know, like pregnancy, if you wanted to have a baby, or, you know, of course, and then money, you know, of course, and things like that. But the way that it's set up now, I think that women are already paying 4 years and excelling there. If you played 4 years in college, a lot of women aren't developing much more after they hit 21 or 22. You know, they're just getting wiser.
Okay, do we have any other questions? I think that might be it. Thank you so much, Marla, for sharing your inspiring journey with us. For those who want to tune in to the 4 o'clock quarantine break, we're going to be talking about the business side of sports with Temple Professor Theo Kunkel, and that's entitled Sports is a Game of Numbers. So once again, thank you so much, Marla, for sharing your time and story with us. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Y'all take care.
Okay, y'all have a great day.